The spiritual awakening process is not something that just happens to your mind or your soul or just within. It's something that affects every area of your life. And one of the most common side effects of a spiritual awakening is a radical rearrangement of your friend circle. If you're watching this video, you may have noticed that your social circle has collapsed for a variety of different reasons. Sometimes, as you've probably seen, people just sort of fall out of your life. You just don't think to call them. They don't think to call you. Even when you have the thought to call them, you might it just doesn't feel right. And then time goes by, and before you know it, you haven't talked to them in years. Other times you might find that you've just changed so much and you're choosing not to go out around the same people anymore because it just doesn't resonate anymore. Your values have changed, your interests have changed. Everything's changed within you and they're the same. Nothing wrong, good or bad about it. But when you go around them, you just feel out of place. You feel like that bond you once shared is no longer there and it feels kind of forced and kind of heavy. You also might just find that you are preferring alone time. You probably feel a lot more sensitive and you realize that there are like lingering ramifications of going out in public and being around a bunch of people. And you might just appreciate your quiet time and your alone time. Maybe your definition of friendship has changed. Maybe your expectations have changed. What does it mean to be a friend? You probably are wanting to be around people who you can be yourself around, people who will accept you and support you and love you no matter what you're into or what you choose to do, no matter what your passion is. You might notice that some of your friends don't necessarily have that, and you can see that now. You can see that they're okay if you're a certain way, if you're the person they've come to know, like, and trust. But the problem is you're not. You're a different person. And you can sense when somebody is okay with that or somebody is reactive to that. And you might just realize that what you thought you had doesn't quite meet your new expectations of what it means to be a friend. But nonetheless, for all these different reasons, you might find yourself sitting alone right now watching this video, wondering, when am I going to have friends? Am I going to have friends again? I know I went through this and I thought I would never have friends again. I literally came to the conclusion and came to peace with this idea that maybe I'm just not meant to have friends. Okay, so be it. I kind of came to peace with it. But that's not true. This is a temporary phase of the spiritual awakening process. It has many very important purposes. And that's what this video is about. It's going to explain to you why you are alone, why you no longer have many friends, and how you can go about eventually having some, but in a different way. And it is possible. Just even if you turn the video off, just know that what you're going through is temporary, that you will have friends again, and you will be really, I think, pleasantly surprised at the types of people that you find just sort of falling into your life. And it might even be some of the people from your past who you thought it was not going to work anymore, because you'll change so much and maybe they'll change enough as well to where you can come back on another level. There's hope. There's a hopeful end to this story here, my friend. So one of the main reasons why you might find yourself without friends is you become more sensitive to the effects that being around people have on you, good and bad. If you go into a busy, crowded, crazy, chaotic grocery store on Christmas Eve, which it is right now, maybe you come home and you feel affected. You feel like a lot of that sort of energy is now in you, and it's sort of got your nervous system all worked up. That's one level of it. But you also might find that when you go around even some of your so-called friends and you share with them your new dreams, your hopes, your new interests, things that really matter to you, and that they look at you funny or they think you're crazy, or they just don't agree with you, or they in some way try to kind of bring you down because this passion you have is making them feel uncomfortable about themselves. And maybe you went out with this feeling really good about yourself and where you're going in life, and then you come home feeling kind of deflated and maybe a little bit doubtful, and realizing the people you're around, their own skepticism has kind of rubbed off on you. And now you're becoming skeptical. Maybe they're right. Maybe my dreams are far-fetched. Maybe they are unrealistic. Maybe. But how does that feel? How does that type of thinking feel? Does it feel expansive and true? Does it ring true? Or does it feel like it's suffocating, like it's not you? So you may conclude this on your own and say, you know what? I'm not going to go around those people because it feels too draining because you don't know what to do. You can either go and be yourself and come back feeling as I explained, or you can go and play the character that they're used to, not rub anybody the wrong way, not push any buttons, but you feel it's a very shallow experience. It feels like pointless. Why am I going and playing this role? It becomes draining. And then you come home feeling just unfulfilled and drained. So it can be kind of a difficult situation to get a handle on, to reconcile the fact that you've changed a lot. And the reality is most people don't change like that, in that way. Most people don't take quantum leaps in their spiritual evolution on a regular, ongoing, consistent basis as you now are. And week after week, month after month, even year after year go by, you're like a completely different person. Someone who's reinvented themselves multiple times. And then you try to go around the same crew. It just doesn't work. It just feels forced. It just doesn't resonate anymore. And for this and all the other reasons, you might just find yourself craving alone time. You haven't figured out the balance yet with the old crew, the old buddies. You haven't met anybody new. And you're doing a lot of sorting out of yourself and your issues. And maybe you're going through a lot of healing. And maybe you become obsessed with learning about reality and metaphysics and esoteric concepts and spirituality. And you are just like, you're content at home reading blogs about the nature of reality. And when you do, time just goes by and you're in the moment and it's just something you want to do. So you might just naturally find yourself wanting to be alone. And I know when this happened to me, I kind of would question it. I would wonder, am I just being antisocial? Should I get out there more? Should I push myself to go and do what I've always done? But like deep down intuitively, I knew the answer was no. But that creates an interesting thing because we are social creatures. It is sort of in our DNA and very natural, a natural part of like being a human to have friends, to have a group that we feel comfortable with, that we feel safe with, that we play with, hang out with, laugh with, joke with. We can talk to. We can help out and they can help us out. It's a beautiful win-win situation. And after a little while of geeking out on YouTube with spiritual videos, you realize that you might start to feel kind of lonely. But then you might wonder, like, okay, well, what do I do? On one hand, I still feel inclined to be alone. Secondly, I know what happens every time I go out. It doesn't work. I'm always reminded that, oh yeah, this is why I stopped coming around. So, but nonetheless, here you are, sort of yearning for friendship. And you go out, you go around in your life, and you don't see anybody that you can really imagine yourself vibing with. Like you're on the bus. Could I talk to this person about the dream I had last night? Could I share my wild dreams with some of my friends? Can I really go deep in a very mature way about the nature of reality and God with anybody without them getting like triggered and wanting to defend their own personal opinion? And it's like, no, you just feel like this loner, and you are a loner. But what I've found is that there's a very important reason for this. Because as lonely as you might be, you are probably, if you relate with this, you're in the process of still figuring out who you are. You go around the old crew, you're realizing, oh, that's not me anymore. But then the question is, well, who am I? Where do I belong? Where might I find these new friends? And it's just not time, because it takes time to get to know yourself. Most people don't go through this sacred isolation phase that you're in maybe right now. And therefore, most people go through their whole life playing a character. And they're letting their conditioning determine who they are, what they're capable of, who they're meant to be around. And it takes time to kind of unravel all that and to discern what was the character and what is me. It's not always so cut and dry. And I'll give an example of that. You know, growing up, my father always showed a lot of interest and enthusiasm anytime I would lift weights and work out. He'd be like, wow, Vic, you're looking really big right now. Man, how much you bench pressing these days? I would feel amazing. I'd get validation from my dad, and it was great. And then, as you can probably predict, fitness became a huge part of my life. I eventually became even a fitness trainer and ran a gym, and that was my life for a long time, part of my core identity. And on one hand, yeah, partially it was like this subconscious thing because it was a way of like pleasing my father. Now, at the same time, I genuinely like to work out. I still work out all the time to this day. So my point is, it's not this or that. It takes time. It took me a long time to sort that out, just as that one particular issue. I wondered that. I wondered, am I obsessed with working out just because it's the 5-year-old child in me wants to get dad's attention? And then there was a case for that being true. But then that wasn't the full truth. But my point is, you might have a whole bunch of this stuff to sort out. Like maybe the career path you're on one hand, it resonates and inspires you. On the other hand, it's like, well, you're starting to kind of see the connection it has with your childhood and your desire for status, whatever it is. We can go back and forth on this all day, but it's just a testament to my point that it takes time to figure all this stuff out. It's also a time that you might be going through a lot of like deep healing, deep purging of like, not just figuring out who you are on like a mental level, but like purging and healing and releasing and transcending pockets of dense, stored up trauma energy in your nervous system. You might be going through that. And as you know, it's not an overnight process. Like as these big energies come up, it can take time for them to make their way out of your system. It can take you over for maybe a period of a few weeks where you feel like you're like a different person. You're acting and feeling and thinking like your adolescent self, and it's playing out in your life. So maybe it's a good idea you spare your buddies of your own drama, of your own process of healing, which takes some time. It's good because you oscillate between being in a state of transcendence and coming into a deeper level of who you are, a deeper understanding of God and the universe. And then, but in between that and other times, you're feeling like a mess. You're projecting your issues all over the place, and you're not in a very balanced place. You're not grounded. And it's okay. There's no judgment here. I was like that. So one of the things I ran into when I would try to force myself around my friends is I would try to enroll them in my new ideas and philosophies about life and reality. And I realized I came off like a crazy person. I wasn't in a position to, in a very adult, mature-like way, express my sort of new and wild ideas about life. So it was best for a variety of reasons that I took some time for myself. Another thing that tends to happen, it's going to sound kind of trippy, but I bet you're into it, is there definitely seems to be an acceleration in, how do I even put this? Like the way you go through the themes in your life that you chose to explore in this lifetime. You tend to go through them and wrap them up in sort of an accelerated way. You know, some people call this like timeline jumping. I don't know if that's exactly what's happening, but kind of seems like it is. So what you might find is you had people in your life, your buddies, certain ones anyways, and maybe they came to play a certain role and have a certain purpose in your life, but you're now in this position, this bizarre position where you're starting to kind of almost see that. You're starting to see, this was the reason this person was in my life. They came to teach me this. And once you start to learn these like soul lessons, they go off. It's like they serve their purpose. I'll give an example. Years ago, when I was getting clean off of heroin, I lived in Florida, and I still credit to this day the fact that I've been sober for over 20 years to the people that God or the universe put into my life. It's true soul brothers, Guy, Shia, these close, Vinny, these really, really amazing friends I met that to this day, whenever I think about them, I feel so blessed, so grateful. These were people that we became thick as thieves, and it was so synchronistic the way we like lived together. And there was like a few hundred people at my halfway house, and we just always happened to live together. And throughout the different phases, there was like multiple places we live, when you're there. Regardless, it was very, very ironic, synchronistic, timely, you might say, that I happened to meet some of my closest friends, when the odds were sort of stacked against me, but they served their purpose. And we're not really in each other's lives at all anymore. And even though I love them, I know they'd be there for me and I'd be there for them, and they know that as well. I just know it's just not something. It's like that part of our lives and timelines intertwined for that time, and now they're going in different directions. And I used to like try to fight that a little bit. In fact, at one point, I actually moved back down to Florida where I met them, and I thought to myself, oh, I get to see them all the time. And every time it just felt kind of like, it just felt kind of forced. Like it just wasn't meant to be. And that's okay. So you might feel that as well. And it can be hard. It can be sad, especially when you just start going through it and you start to realize that, oh, this person who was in my life for a long time and someone I love very much is just, they're going in a different direction. And they're going here and you're going here. So that's another reason that at least I've observed why friends start to kind of fall out of your life. It's not always because you become this superior evolved being. It's sometimes it's just I think there's an acceleration of soul growth, and like the real reason we came to Earth is starting to kind of be made known to us kind of quickly. And that results in a lot of change, not just with friendships, with everything, your careers. You might find that, who you thought you were a couple years ago and who you are now and where you're going. It's like sometimes looking back at my earlier life, it feels like a past life. It feels like that was not even connected to who I am now. And this happens within friendships all the time. But it doesn't make it hurt any less. It doesn't make you any less lonely. And you might be wondering, well, okay, Vic, I get it now. You probably already knew all this intuitively, but now it's like, okay, some dude on YouTube confirmed it. I feel better now. But then I'm still lonely. So what do I do? Is this the end? And in my experience, and what I've also observed again in thousands of people, it is not the end. And what I found is that there's this process we all go through. All the stuff I talked about contained within it. But there does indeed come to a point where you sort of found yourself enough and begin conducting yourself as such, which is a different story. Finding yourself, this is who I am. This is what I want out of life. This is authentic to me. And being it, two different ballgames. But once you start to be it, that's when the soulmate friends come in. Because what I think anyway, I think we have a lot of friends. I think we have a lot, like a huge soul family, maybe thousands. I don't know exactly. I couldn't give you a number, but there's 8 billion people on this planet right now. Just because some of your high school buddies are going off on their own path doesn't mean that out of the rest of the population, there aren't people who you will be just as close with, if not closer. And in my experience, this process leads you to kind of a reunion with at least some of those folks. You'll find that you will attract into your life, when the timing is right, people who you know without knowing, people you resonate with and love without even knowing why. How is this even possible? You will recognize your soul brothers and sisters and teachers and acquaintances and mentors. They will start to just pile in to your life, and you'll know it because you can feel it. When you're around them, it feels like spaciousness. And what I mean by that sounds kind of vague. Like if you go, again, into a busy grocery store, you can close your eyes and you can feel people around you, I bet. There's like a dissonance almost. Around like your soul brothers and sisters, you don't feel anything. It feels like your aura just got bigger, basically. And they'll say things almost like articulating things you were thinking, and like you really have this beautiful synergy, and it's so nice. It was such a unexpected blessing for me when it started to happen to me, how I could feel so expansive and free to be myself, all of myself, around these people. And you can tell they feel the same way about you. And there's this mutual appreciation. And your life eventually starts to fill up with those types of folks. And even they will sometimes come and go, but now there's no hard feelings. You understand the game now because you're growing, they're growing. They're not the last soulmate friend you're going to run into, and it's not the first, and it's just kind of how life is. So if you are in this process, hopefully by now you've been able to identify at least where you're at. Maybe you're in the sacred loneliness days and you're still learning about yourself. That's okay. Honor it. Don't fight with it. Take advantage of it because your life's going to get busy, I promise you, at some point. This is not all there is. This loneliness phase can last a while, can affect your friendships. You might feel like you're not going anywhere in life. You might feel like you don't know who you are. You don't know which way is up. But eventually you're gonna be like reignited with a lot of passion and a sense of purpose. And you're gonna become busy with that purpose. And that's when the friends and stuff come in. And you're gonna look back and you're gonna remember how nice and quiet and peaceful it was to be in this loneliness phase. And maybe that's not you. Maybe you've been in the loneliness phase long enough and it's time to meet those buddies, but you're not, because you're not being your full self. If you have a dream, if you have something you know you want to do, you're meant to do, an aspect of your authentic personality you're not showing to the world for this or that reason, how can you expect to magnetically attract the people you're meant to have in your life if you're not being your true self?